Hey y'all! This video is sponsored by Audible. Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment all in one place. And at Audible, you can find the largest selection of audiobooks. As an Audible member, you will get 1 credit every single month, good for anything in their entire premium selection. Along with that, you also get access to their entire Plus catalog. With that, you will always find the perfect book for whatever you're feeling or whatever you're doing. And if you're interested in trying Audible, you can use my code for a 30-day free trial. All you have to do is go to audible.com/cjades or text cjades to 500-500. Again, that's audible.com/cjades or text cjades to 500-500. You guys know I'm all about the spooky audiobooks, so lately I've been listening to Haunted Stories, true tales of weird, scary, and downright spooky hauntings. It's basically just a book full of different scary stories, and you guys know I'm obsessed with anything scary, spooky, or paranormal. You guys already know I love listening to my audiobooks. I listen to them while I'm editing, while I'm cleaning, while I'm going on my daily walks. And you would think that listening to scary stories while you're out by yourself would be a horrible idea, but you know what? It's honestly the best thing I've ever come up with. I go on my walks in the morning, and listening to something scary or something spooky really gets me in the mood to film videos. So it really inspires me, and I know that sounds strange that something paranormal could inspire you, but it really does. So thank you Audible for sponsoring this video. I love you guys so much. Thank you for continuing to sponsor me. I think it's the coolest thing in the entire world. But aside from that, I am back and I have more weird paranormal stories that I'm very scared to read today. I also dyed my hair, and I don't know if it's still going to be orange on camera because I haven't filmed with my new hair yet, but it doesn't look orange in the viewfinder, which is a good sign. We went a little bit lighter and she toned out all of the orange, or we tried to tone out all of the orange the best that we could. And so it's not orange anymore, and I'm so excited. I'm so happy with my new hair. I'm not going to touch it. I had so many of you commenting on my Instagram picture and you were like, I thought you weren't going to touch it anymore. But I've been telling you guys for like weeks or months that I was going to dye it one more time to get rid of the orange. So I did that. My hair is still healthy. My hair is still thriving. And now we're done. Now we are complete. We are done touching it because it's not orange anymore. And now I promise I won't touch it. I promise I won't touch it. But I'm going to shut up and we're going to get into the stories. I'm going to scoot you on back. 2 of these stories are actually about demonic imaginary friends, which I am very excited to read about. Although it terrifies me, I'm very excited to read them. So this first story says, An Imaginary Friend and the Monster She Brought. Hi there. I've never sent any stories before, so I apologize if it comes off a little confusing. This also might be a bit long, so I apologize in advance. My name is Alexis, and my girlfriend Sid and I have been watching you forever, and I thought I would send one of the spookiest things that happened to me in the hopes that you would like it. First, I'll talk about the ghost I knew as a child. I grew up with a friend named Carmen, and her and I played at my house almost every day. When we were around 7 or 8, we started playing with our imaginary friend. I remember her very clearly. I met her first in the alley behind my house. She was young, the same age as us, and told us she didn't remember her name and wore a blue sundress and white sandals with little sequins. I took her to my backyard and we played in the grass for a while before I was called inside by my mother. The next day, I brought Carmen into the backyard with me. We found the girl sitting behind a neighbor's fence and invited her over again. We decided to call her Sunny because of the sunshine design on her dress. We played for a while, but when it was time for Carmen and I to go back, she started crying. She held our hands and said she didn't want to be alone. Being little kids, we suggested she live in my little tree house, which is turned away from my house so nobody can see into it unless they go up there. She excitedly agreed, and for months, Carmen and I went up and played games with Sunny. Our parents let us, laughing about her overactive imagination, until Carmen stopped sleeping at night. Carmen came over one day, having clearly been crying. She said that in the night she woke up and couldn't move because something was sitting on her back and breathing in her ear. I reassured her it was just a bad dream and went to play with Sunny. But when we told Sunny what happened, she got so frightened she jumped up and asked that we leave and not come back until tomorrow, but the creature kept coming for Carmen. Almost every night she would feel it on her back, fingers and claws digging into her skin, and always that hot breath on her neck. She started showing up with long scratch marks down her back, which our mothers yelled at us for because they believed we had done it ourselves. Carmen referred to it as the monkey. But anytime we brought up the monkey around Sunny, she would go pale and refuse to play with us. This went on for a couple months, until it got worse. One day Carmen came over and burst into tears, saying how the monkey had wrapped its claws around her and squeezed her so hard she couldn't scream. And just before she thought she was dead, it just vanished. We climbed up to the treehouse and told Sunny. She began sobbing and told us she knew the monkey and it was coming after us because it was looking for her. She told us she had to go to protect us, and we sadly said our goodbyes. She left, but not by climbing down. It's like she was there, and then she simply wasn't. Not much else happened for years, except a haunted mummified dog paw I dug up with a different friend, but that's another story. Carmen and I dismissed it as a figment of our young imaginations. That is, until we were much older and mentioned Sunny and realized we had identical recollections of her, down to the smallest detail, even after 3 years. We thought that if it was just 2 little kids' imaginations, we shouldn't have had the exact same memory of her. Curiosity got the better of us, and we searched online news articles around the year we saw her. What we didn't expect to find was an obituary for a little girl who died in a car accident on the highway that runs directly beside the alley behind my house. We also didn't expect to look at the picture and see our friend Sunny, with a different name but the exact same smiling face. Life went on, and my youngest brother, Matthew, about 10 years younger than me, started to grow up. He started showing his personality as a funny, carefree kid. He's the kind of kid to go to a stranger just to tell him he likes their jacket and hopes they have a good day. So it was definitely out of character when Matthew came down from his bedroom crying and needing to be held. He was around 5 at the time and was normally pretty independent. I held him and asked what was wrong. He looked at me, still teary-eyed but dead serious. He said, "It's the other one, the other me, the one who lives in my closet." He grabbed me and it hurt, and he told me he was going to live with you guys and I'll have to go away. I was a little freaked out by what he said, and I nervously laughed and asked if I had ever met the other one. He looked at me with the same dead serious look and said, "Of course, he spent the night with you last night." With shock, I thought back to the morning where I had in fact woke up with Matthew having crawled into the bed with me, and I remember how he hadn't said a word to me, and I hadn't turned where I could see his face. I nervously laughed it off again, and Matthew explained how the other one was a boy that looked like him and wanted to replace him, but the other one wanted to hurt us all. Matthew stressed that he wanted to hurt us very badly. A few days later, the family was in the car on some kind of road trip. Matthew was watching TV on my mother's iPad, and we were all mostly doing things on our own. Suddenly, Matthew looked up and said in the most monotone, matter-of-fact way, "He's still here, just so you know. The other Matthew. He knows where we are, and he is still here." Matthew returned to his show, showing no indication he had even just spoken. We all looked at each other with confusion and nervousness, but ended up shaking that off as well. About a month after the car trip, nothing had really happened, and we'd mostly forgotten about it. Matthew and I were home alone, and I was in charge of babysitting. He was being uncharacteristically bratty and pinching and tugging my hair, and I got frustrated and asked why he was being so mean today. He looked at me, suddenly serious again, and considered it for a moment before answering. He said, "I don't know. I think he's making me do it." He then proceeded to hit himself in the side of the head over and over while shouting, "Get out of me, get out of me." I had to grab his hand to stop him, and I was pretty unnerved for the rest of the night. The last thing I know of that happened pertaining to the other Matthew is when we came home as a family one day to see a light on in the basement we didn't leave on. We were nervous enough that my dad searched the house for an intruder but didn't find anyone. We went down to the basement and found the light. The odd thing is that the light to the crawl space under the stairs, which had boxes piled up against the door, was almost 5 feet deep. It shouldn't be possible for anybody to get in there without pulling all the boxes away from the door, let alone putting them back exactly the way that they were. My bedroom is also in the basement, right beside the stair crawl space, and when I eventually went to bed, I finally noticed all of the white child-sized handprints on the upper wall and ceiling. They were the same size as Matthew's little hands, but they were much too high for him to possibly reach, and we had all been out together all day. When I woke up the next day, the handprints were gone. That's all for this story, unfortunately. I moved out and haven't heard of anything else happening in the family's house since. Of course, spooky things followed me and keep happening, and let me know if you would ever like to hear about them. I would love to hear about them. This story is absolutely insane. Sorry if the story wasn't very exciting and didn't have anything super interesting happen, but it was definitely odd. Okay, yeah, it was definitely interesting. Don't even know. It was definitely interesting. I am like in shock, first of all, about your imaginary friend that you found an obituary for. That is like, that blows my mind. And the fact that both of you could see her. And I thought it was strange just from the beginning how you found them in an alleyway. I thought that was the weirdest thing of all. And then it just so happened that the car accident happened near the alleyway. I don't know, it's so crazy to me. And then the fact, like, what happened to the other Matthew? Like, they just left one day, or are they still there? Like, what is the other Matthew? It's a little demon bitch? Like, I can't comprehend. This next story says, my imaginary best friend turned out to be some kind of demonic presence. Hey, another story from me to Courtney. Been watching your videos for a very long time, and I'm hoping I'll post enough creepy stories for you to be able to see one and read one or two, or however many you'd like. Let's begin. The story begins with a book series. It might be a little odd, but let me explain. There was a book series that I was reading at a time when I was about 8 or 9. The series was called the Mallory Book Series. I was pretty lonely at the time and didn't have a lot of friends, and the friends that I did have, of course, I couldn't really hang out with all the time. So of course, as any kid really does, I created my own personal imaginary friend. Based off the book, I created Mallory and all of her friends as imaginary friends. Nothing really out of the ordinary. For some reason, Mallory could come with me everywhere, but her friends had to stay at my mom's house. That's where I created them. At the time, my dad was living in an apartment with some people who are pretty damn interested in the paranormal at one point. Mallory would come with me everywhere. School, Walmart, restaurants, she was just everywhere with me. I thought that since she was the main character out of the book, she was the only one who could follow me everywhere, while her friends were just stuck in one place because they were only her friends and not the main characters. She was pretty nice to me, and we would talk all the time. We could also somehow communicate where I would talk through my brain and she would just speak out loud since nobody else could hear her besides me. She had red hair, cute light brown freckles, and she always wore the same clothes she wore in one of the books, Campfire Mallory. We were all very close, and no one besides myself knew that I had 4 great imaginary friends with me. One night, Mallory was pretty stressed out, and I asked why, and she told me she had a bad feeling about tonight. I don't know what it was, but I was too stupid to ask why. The same night, the owners of the building hired professional ghost hunters to look around the house late at night to see if they could communicate with any spirits. We learned that there was a boy and a man. The boy had been shot dead by his father, which then hung himself about 5 minutes later while the mother was out working. About 70 years later, a guy rented out the space we used to live in and eventually committed the dead because a girl rejected him too many times and he was fed up with having no life and having no one to love him. His name was Moose. Odd name. But his anxiety and depression got so bad that he would go out of town, buy paper and tear it to shreds until the day he died. We moved in right after and in the same apartment, and let me tell you, this place was a complete mess. Only someone who was really fucked up in the head could live like that. I think maybe he was mental. Anyways, the experts came around 1 a.m. and we were having fun, so they stayed until about 4 in the morning. As it turned 4:08, I can distinctly remember them rooting for me to ask the little boy a question. Mallory was telling me not to, but they insisted on it, so I did. It was almost like she was about to get caught doing something she wasn't supposed to be doing. I remember me asking the question, "Can you see Mallory? She has red hair and some freckles. She is right next to me." The little boy tended to answer questions rather easily and quickly, but he stopped this time. He really took his time answering. And then he said yes. He didn't actually say it, but he said yes through the tool we were using. Mallory faded away and I never saw her after that. Knowing that she could be seen by a ghost meant that she wasn't imaginary. And ghosts can't follow you. Only negative charged presences can. Hope you liked. More stories on their way. The little boy was like speaking to you? That's crazy. And the fact that he saw Mallory, this bitch, were the other ones imaginary then? Like the other friends, the ones that like couldn't travel with you everywhere, were those still imaginary? That's like, I can't imagine. The demonic imaginary friends blow my mind. They really do. Okay, and I'm gonna read one more story. This one says, My Haunted Childhood. They said, "Hey there, I absolutely love your video, so I decided to tell my story as well, even if it's only as some sort of self-therapy for me. First of all, I'm sorry for my bad English skills. I'm from Germany. It all started when I was about 8 years old, but went on until I was 16. We lived in a big house with a lot of property because my dad had a market garden. I used to have my room next to my mother's room downstairs, but after my older brother moved out, I was supposed to get his room, which was upstairs. At the beginning, everything was all right, but all of a sudden I started getting these weird nightmares and some sort of weird feeling of danger. I didn't want to be upstairs alone anymore. My mom said it was just because the room was new to me and that I should continue sleeping there. The fear would go away by itself. Oh dear, how she was wrong. The nightmares continued and I started to hear strange noises coming from the attic. Sometimes it sounded like voices and sometimes it was just steps. I used to lock my room every night, although I would get in trouble in the morning for that. One day my mom was so angry because of that she took the keys to my room away. I couldn't lock my room anymore. That was when the real disturbing things started to happen. You have to know that we had one of those wooden butlers, which were able to hold a tray. Ours was about 1 meter high. It was standing in the bathroom upstairs next to my room offering soap. My mom actually has one of those in our kitchen, and it is like the most terrifying thing in the entire world, so I'm scared to see where this is gonna go. As soon as I couldn't lock my door anymore, the wooden figure started to change positions inside the bathroom when I wasn't directly looking at it, which was creepy as hell, to be honest. I mean, I was alone in the bathroom and the door was locked, and somehow that thing was moving right when I turned my back towards it. Also, I had that strange feeling of being watched, just as if the figure's eyes were following me around the bathroom. So I started to cover it with towels when I was in the bathroom alone at first. But soon I got so scared that I just yelled at my mom that something wasn't right with that thing, and that if she wouldn't put it away, I would throw it out the window no matter what punishment I would receive for that. She sighed and put it away. You know where she put it? Exactly, the attic. Since then, things just got worse. The figure started to move between the attic and the bathroom. Although I saw how my mother put the butler in the attic, it appeared outside the bathroom the next evening. Nobody could remember putting it back there. Sometimes it was also standing on the stairs which led to the attic. Then one night I woke up to the thing standing inside my fucking doorframe, just looking directly at me. You could literally see some sort of dull glowing where the eyes should be. I was trembling all over and hid under my blanket until the sun rose. When I was brave enough to lift my blanket, it was gone. After that thing continued to look at me every single night, just like a predator ready to kill its prey. Not only that, it seemed to come closer to my bed each night. I was about 14 years old at the time, by the way, and I told myself it was just some really bad dreams that I had there. Then one night, I woke up to that thing standing right next to my bed and smiling at me. I pressed my back against the wall and hid under my blanket with my eyes closed. I fell asleep after several hours. I don't know how you fell asleep! In the morning, my first thought was that it was probably a dream. I mean, it was way too surreal. That's when I discovered a lot of scratches between my back and my waist, some of them being very deep. I was so scared and felt so helpless that I started to barricade the door to my room at night so you couldn't open it from the outside. The thing got really angry now because it couldn't get to me that easily anymore. So I found scratches on the outside of my door and heard something walking right outside my room in the middle of the night. At that point, I avoided leaving my room in the night. I wasn't drinking anything in the evening so I wouldn't have to pee in the night. Then, one night, I desperately had to use the bathroom, so I decided that I would just run to the bathroom, go to the toilet, and run back. When I was running back to my room, I heard something sprinting down the stairs to the attic. The thing was trying to catch me. I slammed my door and barricaded it. A few weeks later, I was on the phone with my boyfriend. I hadn't told him about the strange things happening because I didn't want him to think that I was crazy. Suddenly, something was slamming at my door. The whole door was shaking because of how hard the thing was pounding against my door. Even my boyfriend heard the pounding through the telephone, and he was asking if everything was all right and if there was somebody in our house. He was really worried. Soon after that, I moved out of the house with my mom because my parents got divorced. The strange events stopped directly. I'm 21 now and still have nightmares because of this time. I am making my mom get rid of that wooden butler in her kitchen. Oh my god, it's like Annabelle. It's like something is haunting that wooden thing. I don't know. All I can think about is Annabelle when I think about your situation. Well, that is terrifying. I have no words. I don't even know what to do. I'm so glad this stuff stopped as soon as you moved out. I am so glad, and I hope that they threw that thing away. That thing needs to be locked up for the rest of its life because it's haunted. I don't know why I keep doing this with my hands. I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any other stories that you want to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit link down below, as well as my email. But please post on the subreddit if you're able to. If you're not able to post on the subreddit, then you can email me. But I really only take stories from the subreddit. So please try the subreddit first. Make a Reddit. It takes 2 seconds. I have a lot of people who are like, I don't have a Reddit account. Make a Reddit account. It takes 2 seconds and post on the subreddit. I promise it'll be worth it because I'll read your stories. But other than that, I'm gonna go. I love y'all. I will see you in the next one. Bye! Also, I have no updates on the kitty. She hasn't been back in a very long time. She hasn't even been back like in the middle of the night. She's not eating the food anymore. She's not coming back for water, so I really don't know. I don't know what happened to her. A lot of people seem to think that maybe she had kittens, so maybe she like went to have her baby somewhere and she's with them, but I really don't know. And our neighbors haven't seen them either because our neighbors have been asking us if the white cat is ours. We've had like 2 different neighbors who have seen the cat and they've asked if it's our cat. So I don't know because they haven't seen the cat either, so like I don't know what's happening with the cat. I feel so bad. I wish I would have just taken them in when I had the chance, but I didn't, and there's nothing I can do about that. But I'm sad. I wish the cat was coming back, but she's not, and I don't have any updates for you. I'm sorry. See ya!